Outside this Adams County courthouse, the sound of victory. After jury sided with the musician Afroman, whose real name is Joseph Foreman, after a days-long civil defamation trial. Afroman speaking to WCPO right after the verdict.
I didn't win. America won. America still has freedom of speech. It's still for the people, by the people.
So this Afroman lawsuit is probably one of the funniest things that I've seen in a very long time on this channel, and Afroman has officially won his lawsuit, which is an important victory for freedom of speech, as he was being sued by the Sheriff's Department in Adams County, Ohio, due to the fact that they were claiming he was defaming them and using images of them inappropriately in his music videos, which of course he ended up making after they raided his house, broke down his door, and disconnected his internal surveillance cameras while they were rifling through his house. Now, there was also an issue of money where on the paperwork they ended up saying that he had about $5,000. However, the money that they returned to him was $400 short of what they said they ended up taking from his place during the actual initial raid. But all of that is kind of superfluous at this point in time, because in reality, fundamentally, what we have right here is a core First Amendment issue. Is this man allowed to use footage from his own surveillance systems and other publicly known information about these deputies that, again, work for the Sheriff's Department? They work for the government, therefore they are representatives of the government in his music videos, in what I will say is a kind of crass way in many of these videos, but can he do so for entertainment without being sued for defamation? And this is what we're going to talk about today, because the highlights of this particular trial are absolutely amazing, and Afroman did in fact win his case. He did secure a total victory, although he still can't get the Sheriff's Department to pay for his door, which is what he was upset about in the first place. But yeah, this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
So all of this is their fault.
And because they executed a search warrant on your home, that gave you the right to post the things that we've seen this week on the internet?
Because
Is that right? Is that right, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, for tearing down my door, not paying for it, not being apologetic, me being a sport, doing something peaceful to raise the money to pay for their damages, me having the right of the freedom of speech as an American to talk to my family, friends, and fans about what the sheriffs did to my home. Yes, I had the right to my freedom of speech. After they left, I had the right to kick the can and to do what I had to do to repair the damage they brought to my house.
So first of all, everything about this trial is ridiculous and hilarious at the same time. The fact that they allowed Afroman to wear this particular suit and these sunglasses, these aviators with American flags on him during the course of his testimony, the fact that they showed his music videos through their entirety, again, even linking his social medias so that he can promote himself, is one of the most embarrassing own goals I've ever seen in my entire life. Also, in addition to that, Afroman's attorney, the guy with the incredibly long beard, looks absolutely hilarious because, again, this all reads like it's some kind of sketch, but it was actually a real, genuine court case.
Remember in your deposition when I asked you, why did you bring the news when you picked up the money?
Yeah, I didn't want to get beat up or Epstein at the sheriff's station after I seen him running around my house with AR-15s. So that's why I brought the news and my attorney, so to make sure I got out of that place with my money.
You brought the news to protect you physically.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me on a personal level whether or not Afroman maybe took this a little bit too far, maybe he led to a little bit too much harassment against these people at the Adams County Sheriff's Department, I would say probably, because these people report all these different instances of people calling them up and calling them by their nicknames, including this woman called Lisa, who he nicknamed Lick'em Low Lisa, which is exactly where your dirty mind is going with that, what he intends by said nickname. But the fact is, he actually made an excellent point throughout the course of his testimony where he said, look, I'm basically kicking a can in my own backyard. I didn't break into their houses, trash their house, rip down their surveillance cameras, and take money from them like they did to me. And in reality, this is all their fault, because had they just paid for the damages or never raided my place in the first place, then we would not have gotten to this point in time where these people who essentially victimized him are now claiming to be the victim.
Fact, they never should have came to my house in the first place. Fact, If they hadn't have came to my house, they wouldn't have put themselves on the video camera and in my music career. All of this is their fact. All of this is their fault. And they have the audacity to sue me. These people and you are the predators and the victim at the same time.
But to give you an understanding of how ridiculous this is, if you go to Afroman's YouTube channel, what you'll find out is that the Lick 'em Low Lisa song is like 13 minutes long. A 13-minute music video all about this cop that he claims may be a trans, has a very deep voice, is definitely licking the wives of the other members of the police department, and all sorts of other kind of gross and crass things. It's 13 minutes long. It even includes her crying in her deposition. And yeah, it's pretty hilarious that this guy ended up producing this video and that the sheriff's department got so mad that they tried to sue to get it removed, only causing more and more people to see these particular videos. But the creme de la creme of this particular saga was the fact that they actually brought up Lick 'em Low Lisa into the trial, and then they played this video for her basically in its entirety while she was crying in the courtroom, trying to bias the jury against Afroman.
Near the bottom of that first paragraph, just go down a little bit more, right there. Has anybody in Adams County verified her vagina? If you haven't, you should, or she might. Whoop out something bigger than yours. If this lady is your friend, I wouldn't leave her alone in my house. Or I'll put it this way, if you leave and your video system is messed up, etc., etc. And then down below a little further, my name for this particular officer is Lieutenant Mona Lick 'em Low Lisa. When did you first see this posting, if you recall?
Shortly after the warrant.
Thank you.
Lick 'em Low Lisa came to town. She got the pussy all around. From Adams County to the 275. Lick 'em Low Lisa, licking every pussy alive. Lick 'em Low Lisa, lick 'em Low Lisa. She raided my house. She disconnected my camera. Then she went down on my spouse. I just don't know what I'm gonna do. Y'all keep on laughing. She gonna eat your wife's pussy. When Lick 'em Low Lisa joined the Adams County Sheriff's Department, husband was complaining because she was munching on their wife's carpet.
Now look, I'll link Afroman's full music video in the description of this video. Needless to say, I could not show you many of the parts from the video due to the over-the-top sexual nature of some of the content right there. But yeah, this obviously was not helping anyone. This was not fooling anyone. And yeah, the guy, even though it's crass and it's mean to say that this lady, who apparently is a mother, was actually born a man, has a voice deeper than most dudes, and again, is going downtown on all the females, everybody's wives, as he depicted in his video. It's not the nicest thing to do, but again, this is him making fun of her, and it should not be defamation, as people should be able to understand that his music videos, where he's nicknaming them all these crazy things, are not an accurate representation of reality. And as Afroman said, he's trying to use his music to fight back against these people, and part of art is being able to express yourself. Also, in addition to that, it is just objectively hilarious to watch this grown adult woman cry when they're playing a music video in the courtroom, in a court of law in the United States of America. Also, I will point out that if you actually go to this guy's video, one of the things that you'll find out is that despite the fact that Afroman has been a performer for years and he has a channel over 1 million subscribers, there are like basic production mistakes in this particular music video, including at one point in time where there's just a smudge on the camera for a lengthy period of time. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade at Afroman or anything of the sort, because this kind of adds a little bit of charm to the music videos that he's making, in that they're not super high production value pieces or anything of the sort, but also in addition to that, the videos go on for far too long. But of course, this leads us to another individual who may have been maybe the dumbest cop in the entire country, which is hilarious, because part of what Afroman is doing is trying to paint these cops as dumb rubes, absolute idiots who show no respect for them. And this guy ends up coming into the case with a lot of fire in his heart. He ends up going after Afroman because Afroman claimed to have slept with his wife. However, he fails to understand one of the basic components of defamation, which is, of course, that you're supposed to be alleging that the claims are false and therefore defamatory, but this guy does not seem to get it.
So you're solely being painted in a false light due to Mr. Walters saying he had sex with your wife.
Mr. Walters does have sex with his wife. Mr. Foreman doesn't.
Good catch on that.
Yeah.
So this is like the beginning of the end, where he is first asked, and the attorney ends up misspeaking, whether or not he ends up sleeping with his wife, and he says, no, I do, but Mr. Foreman, which is Afroman's real name, he doesn't. That's the issue, and it seems like he's fighting back, he's punching back, and maybe he might be onto something at this moment in time. And by the way, the jury passing the do not laugh out loud test is going to be put up in the most extreme, because when I saw this clip, I genuinely was cracking up, because he ends up being asked whether or not this is false, that Afroman slept with his wife, and he fails in a way that I did not think could actually happen, but it does, and it's absolutely glorious.
So you're claiming that is the defamation statement, is that he said he had sex with your wife?
Yes.
Okay. And that's painted you in a false light?
It's caused tremendous pain in my life.
I'll get to that. We have to go through false light first. So does it paint you in a false light?
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know if this guy slept with your wife? Your whole entire point is that this is defamation against you and your family, and you're saying you're not sure because no one can know, thus undermining your actual case of defamation in the court of law. And by the way, as the questions go on, this response does not get better. And when I looked at this, by the way, when I saw this, I was shocked. I replayed it like 20 times because I couldn't believe that this guy in a defamation case ended up saying that he didn't know if Afroman was sleeping with his wife, like he said in his music video.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
Wait, you don't know if your wife's cheating on you or not?
You want to go there?
No, I just want to ask that question because you said we don't know. I just
Been with
need
that
the answer.
woman since middle school.
I know.
I would hope she wouldn't. But you know what? Once somebody puts it out there for their fun and entertainment, it's out there. And it's a problem.
So it's something we cannot verify the truth of? Is it a thing that can be verified, true or false.
Ask your client.
You know, they say the Dunning-Kruger effect is when you are such a novice, you are so lacking in intelligence, you actually think yourself to be an expert, you're unaware of your inability, and this might be a perfect distillation of that concept, because the way that he confidently answered that by saying, I don't know, you have to ask Mr. Foreman, he sounds like in his voice and based on his body language that he is nailing it in his own mind, but in reality, he is the dumbest person I've seen testify in a court case in a very long time, especially as a police officer when part of your job is to testify in a court of law for criminal related cases. Again, you're suing for defamation. You're claiming that this guy defamed you, yet throughout the course of this particular case, you can't even answer the question on whether or not it's false that this guy slept with your wife, which again is the basis of your claim for defamation. It has to be false. It has to follow some other circumstances, but also, very importantly, it has to be untrue, and the guy who's making the claim against Afroman won't even say in the affirmative in clear and certain terms that it is not in fact true that Afroman slept with his wife. How do you not laugh at this guy? How do you not realize that this is an absolute joke? And again, throughout the whole course of this trial, we just had moment after moment that was absolutely hilarious. Like, one of the people that Afroman was making fun of was a police officer whose brother was actually convicted as a child sex offender, and in Afroman's music videos, he implied that just like his brother, that particular sheriff's deputy was in fact also an offender. And they ended up asking Afroman whether or not he had any evidence of this. And the fact that the court had no control over this man and couldn't stop him from answering this question in this manner is absurd and ridiculous in every possible way. Because again, his testimony as per his deposition would actually be incriminating in this regard. But somehow Afroman is allowed to answer like this, thus making it very ambiguous.
You have no evidence that Brian Newland ever molested little boys, do you?
If you look at the picture, he's holding the little boy's butt. It's too much for me. So if you just use your eyeballs, and then his brother's a convicted pedophile.
That's your evidence for posting that pedophile stuff about little boys.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of guy is kicking on my door.
Look, I genuinely believe that this defamation case is absolute BS in every possible way, but if you had a claim that you needed to push, if you had a claim that was actually going to be solid, it would be this claim from Afroman that this guy is some kind of a child sex abuser or something of the sort, but the attorney managed to botch even that, and then the guy talks about this picture, so everybody in the jury's mind is going to be thinking about that particular photo rather than the fact that Afroman was clearly not telling the truth. Again, whether or not that meets the level of defamation or not later on, it makes no matter. It's just a terrible representation. Now, of course, Afroman ended up winning this. I told you this in the open. He obviously was celebrating his victory. He's been uploading and re-uploading different cuts of these songs that he's been making about these people. His YouTube channel's over 1 million subscribers. And yeah, while I support his right to speak and whatnot, even though this is definitely crass, the court just embarrassing the people who brought this suit, absolute idiots, and yeah, they should have just paid for his door if we're being perfectly honest. Now, of course, I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about one of the craziest cases I've ever seen. Till next time.